Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Tira Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayong Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajaka Acharya Ashtotra Sadashri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 16, Lord Parashurama destroys the world's ruling class. Text 10 to 19, verses from 10 to 18 does not have purport. 10 to 17 does not have purport. So I will just read the translations and then we will together read the verse 19. Okay. Text 10. Once when Parashurama left the ashrama for the forest with Vasuman and his other brothers, the sons of Kartaviryarjuna, took the opportunity to approach Jamadagni's residence to seek vengeance for their grudge. Text 11. The sons of Kartaviryarjuna were determined to commit sinful deeds. Therefore, when they saw Jamadagni sitting by the side of the fire to perform yajna and meditating upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised by the best of the selected prayers, they took the opportunity to kill him. Text 12. With pitiable prayers, Renuka, the mother of Parashurama and wife of Jamadagni, begged for the life of her husband. But the sons of Kartaviryarjuna, being devoid of the qualities of Kshatriyas, were so cruel that despite her prayers, they forcibly cut off his head and took it away. Text 13. Lamenting in grief for the death of her husband, the most chaste Renuka struck her own body with her hands and cried very loudly, "O Rama, my dear son Rama." Text 14. Although the sons of Jamadagni, including Lord Parashurama, were a long distance from home, as soon as they heard Renuka loudly calling, "O Rama, O my son," they hastily returned to the ashrama where they saw their father already killed. Text 15. Virtually bewildered by grief, anger, indignation, affliction, and lamentation, the sons of Jamadagni cried, "O Father, most religious, saintly person, you have left us and gone to the heavenly planets." Text 16. Thus lamenting, Lord Parashurama entrusted his father's dead body to his brothers and personally took up his axe, having decided to put an end to all the Kshatriyas on the surface of the world. Text 17. O king, Lord Parashurama then went to Mahishmati, which was already doomed by the sinful killing of a Brahmana. In the midst of that city, he made a mountain of heads severed from the bodies of the sons of Kartavirya Arjuna. Text 18 and 19. Okay. Okay. Trisapta kritvaha prithivim kritva nikshatriyam prabhuhu samanta panchake chakre shonita udan hradan navam trisapta kritva prithivim kritva nikshatriyang prabhuhu samanta panchake chakre shonitodhan hradan navam trisapta kritva prithivim kritva nikshatriyang prabhuhu samanta panchake chakre shonitodhan hradan navam trisapta kritva prithivim kritva nikshatriyang prabhuhu samanta panchake chakre shonitodhan hradan navam trisapta kritva prithivim kritva nikshatriyang prabhuhu samanta panchake chakre shonitodhan hradan navam trisapta kritva prithivim kritva nikshatriyang prabhuhu samanta panchake chakre shonitodhan hradan navam. Matajis. Trisapta kritva prithivim kritva nikshatriyang prabhuhu samanta panchake chakre shonitodhan hradan navam. Trisapta kritvaha 21 times. Prithivim, the entire world. Kritva, making. Nikshatriyam, without a Kshatriya dynasty. Prabhu, the Supreme Lord Parashurama, Samanta Panchake, at the place known as Samanta Panchaka. Chakre, he made Shonita Udan, filled with blood instead of water. Radhan, lakes. Nava, 9. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON. Translation: with the blood of the bodies of these sons, Lord Parashurama created a ghastly river which brought great fear to the kings who had no respect for Brahminical culture. Because the Kshatriyas, the men of power in government, were performing sinful activities, Lord Parashurama, on the plea of retaliating for the murder of his father, rid all the Kshatriyas from the face of the earth 21 times. Indeed, in the place known as Samanta Panchaka, he created 9 lakes filled with their blood. Purport: Parashurama is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his eternal mission is Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya cha Dushkritam, to protect the devotees and annihilate the miscreants. To kill all the sinful men is one among the tasks of the incarnation of Godhead. Lord Parashurama killed all the Kshatriyas 21 times consecutively because they were disobedient to the Brahminical culture. That the Kshatriyas had killed his father was only a plea. The real fact is that because the Kshatriyas, the ruling class, had become polluted, their position was inauspicious. Brahminical culture is enjoined in the Shastra, especially in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtang Gunakarma Vibhagashaha. According to the laws of nature, whether at the time of Parashurama or at the present, if the government becomes irresponsible and sinful, not caring for Brahminical culture, there will certainly be an incarnation of God like Parashurama to create a devastation by fire, famine, pestilence, or some other calamity. Whenever the government disrespects the supremacy of the personality of Godhead and fails to protect the institution of Varnashrama Dharma, it will certainly have to face such catastrophes as formerly brought about by Lord Parashurama. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminiti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Tadraktena nadingoram abbrahmanya bhayavaham hetum kritva pitrvadam shatre mangalakarini trisapta kritva prithvim kritva nikshatriyam prabhu samanta panchake chakre shonitodan Radhan Nava. With the blood of the bodies of the sons, Lord Parashurama created a ghastly river which brought great fear to the kings who had no respect for Brahminical culture. Because the Kshatriyas, the men of power in government, were performing sinful activities, Lord Parashurama, on the plea of retaliating for the murder of his father, rid all the Kshatriyas from the face of the earth 21 times. Indeed, in the place known as Samanta Panchaka, he created 9 lakes filled with their blood. Hare Krishna. So we are continuing to hear about Lord Parashurama's valiant act of killing the Kshatriyas who transgressed the Dharma. So that is what we saw in the previous chapter also. And here there are further descriptions that is given in this chapter, how actually that act took place. And we can also see in the verse there is a word that is mentioned, Amangala Karini. So this refers to the sinful activities of the Kshatriyas, Amangala Karini. The Kshatriyas are, as a ruling class, meant to create auspiciousness to the citizens by providing them the basic necessities and protecting them in all situations. And very important, protecting the dharmic principles, which is very much required for the purification of all the citizens, and gradually they take to the path of self-realization. So that's a very important aspect of the role of Kshatriyas being played. And here specifically this word has been mentioned that they engaged in inauspicious activity. So what is that inauspicious activity that the Kshatriyas engaged in? So very well we see from Kartavirya Arjuna and his sons, there is descendants also, it very clearly appears that they engage in sinful act. First thing is, we can see from Kartavirya Arjuna himself that he, because of his power and his wealth, he became very proud. He did not acknowledge Jamadagni's prowess and how he is a great Brahmana. So he forgot everything when he saw the Kamadhenu. So he immediately wanted to acquire it. So he lost because of illusion, he lost what is it that he is supposed to do. He is supposed to actually give protection to the Brahmanas and hear from him, take good advice and make progress. So he transgressed that. And then we just saw in yesterday's verse also how the sons of Kartavirya Arjuna, they were very upset because his father was killed by Parashuram. So they were keeping that grudge, and they did not also understand exactly why such an act was performed. And then it is mentioned that they were never able to be happy. In yesterday's verse, if you see, there is a point that is mentioned. They were never happy because all the time they were thinking, oh, my father was killed, so we should take some revenge, we should do something about it. So as a result of that, they were never happy, and they were finding an opportunity how to take a revenge. So just now we see in the series of verses, the result of those meditation ended up in this event of Jamadagni being massacred by the sons of Kartavirya Arjuna. And here Srila Prabhupada is making a point that why Lord Parashuram became furious and then he annihilated all these miscreants. We can see in the purport. Also, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning the point as Lord Parashurama, his position being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the eternal mission of the Supreme Lord is to establish the dharmic principles, paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkritam. So we see here how the Lord, to establish dharma and to protect his devotees, it may appear like it's a very ghastly act, but that was required for him to establish dharma, and he did it. And we also saw how his acts were very, very powerful. You can immediately see no ordinary person can do this to such a powerful act of killing all the miscreants with the speed of the wind and the speed of the mind. We heard the descriptions in the previous chapter, how he was so powerful. So this is again an immediate symptom to see that he is not an ordinary person, he is Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Otherwise, we cannot even imagine performing any task at the speed of the wind, and the two fighting. And then further description is given that he fought at the speed of the mind. That was the speed with which he was fighting against so many warriors. So that is one. That shows his prowess, and that shows he is Supreme Lord. This cannot be imitated. And specifically, Srila Prabhupada in this purport is pointing out that there are a couple of points. One of the main point that Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that the Lord had to perform this act because of the disobedience of the Kshatriyas towards the Brahminical culture. So, so this should be understood. Why Parashuram became so furious? Because the Brahminical culture should be protected. And also when we study the scriptures, when we study the Bhagavatam and Gita, we understand that the Brahmanas play a very important role in the society. In fact, they have all the saintly qualities, and they are meant to guide the rest of the Varnas in educating them in the process of Krishna consciousness, or the process of self-realization, which is the most important role that every living entity has to play in this material world. In fact, this material world is a place meant for rectification. It's a place meant for correcting our mistake of trying to enjoy this material world, having the false propensity to lord over the material nature. We are all born in this material world. That's why all the living entities are here. Now, so the Lord has a plan. The Lord has a plan to revive the conditioned souls back to His abode, back to their constitutional position, being the eternal servant of the Lord. So the Lord, to facilitate that act, He has given a system of Varna and Ashramas. So Prabhupada here is referring to the verse Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam Gunakarma Vibhagashaha. So why these divisions the Lord has created? The Lord knows the conditioned souls are they want to try to enjoy this material world, but at the same time, the Lord gives a process by which gradually they can purify their existence, simultaneously on one hand trying to satisfy their desires, but at the same time, in trying to satisfy their desires, they try to purify their existence and come to the level of free from all material desires. So the Lord has a plan, and when there are so He has created the system of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras according to the different natures of people. So they are being guided according to their natures. So the Lord has a system. Now the problem happens when the different people do not understand their specific roles, and then they, because of greed, pride, and all kinds of material desires, when they try to enjoy this material world in a dharmic way. So the Lord, He, as it is mentioned here, so He vinashaya cha dushkritam. So He comes and then establishes the dharmic principles, and He annihilates the miscreants. So it is, we can see in the previous yugas, so this is what has happened. And Lord Parashurama, here Srila Prabhupada points out that he killed the Kshatriyas 21 times. So it was a long war that he had, and he was continuously, ferociously fighting to establish Dharma. And the main reason being these Kshatriyas specifically, they were against the Brahminical culture. So that was the main point. And also, Srila Prabhupada again mentions a point here is that, so this is again a very important point to be noted. He says that although on the plea of someone had killed a father, Parashuram went on killing the Kshatriyas. So the reason Prabhupada points out is that because he says as a ruling class, the Kshatriyas had become polluted in their position, and that is very inauspicious, he points out. So what is the pollution? The pollution is that not understanding their role of giving protection to the people in terms of establishing the Dharma, giving them the required artha, and then trying to satisfy their desire, and then very much helping them in the process of, on the path of liberation. So when this gets disrupted, then the whole purpose of the creation of this material world, people become more and more engrossed in sense gratification. They forget the purpose of life. They want to enjoy more and more with the senses, and then they lose the great value that they have got in this human form of life. The purpose of human form of life is to remember the Supreme Lord and to purify ourselves and go back to the Lord's abode in loving service to Him. So that is being lost. So that's what Srila Prabhupada points out as that the pollution that has entered the minds of the Kshatriyas. So that is why we also saw the word Amangala Karini. So they engage in all inauspicious activities. So all the activities becomes inauspicious, because at the end of the day, if all the activities that is being performed by the people, if they do not establish their connection to the Supreme Lord, if they do not engage in the service of the Lord, all the activities becomes inauspicious. It is like Mandanam Lokaranjanam, as the scriptures explain. It's like decorating a dead body with all, with very, very nice cosmetics, putting all ornaments. It becomes useless. So that is a very important point. And in this regard, we can see Srila Prabhupada's purport and his thoughts and his ideas and his views was very revolutionary when we see the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, specifically in the chapters dealing with Parikshit dealing with the bulls and the cows, and Srila Prabhupada's view and Srila Prabhupada's analysis and the vision that he has in reviving the people from the conditioned state. It's very thought-provoking, and some of the purports, Prabhupada has a vision also for the government, how the government can really help the people, what is the current problem that we are having, and how the Brahminical the Brahminical culture in the society, how it is degraded, and how as a class of government, the Kshatriyas also, they are also not understood what is their role, and how they are also not protecting, and how as a result the whole society is in a very chaotic condition. So that Srila Prabhupada mentions. And so I would like to see 2-3 purports where Prabhupada very strongly emphasized what is the problem and how the society can be revived by engaging people in Krishna consciousness. And specifically, there are in the modern age, there are so many activities which are very adharmic, which are sinful. There is a lot of activities which can be discussed. Specifically, Prabhupada points out with the symptoms of Kali. He's pointing out 3 symptoms, and how the people are also addicted to the influence of Kali, and also the government, and then all the other class of people are influenced, and he's also giving a solution. So he points out that Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17, Text 1, the first sign of the Kali Yuga is pointed out. It says that the principal sign of the age of Kali is that lower caste Shudras, men without Brahminical culture and spiritual initiation, will be dressed like administrators or kings. And the principal business of such non-Kshatriya rulers will be to kill the innocent animals, especially the cows and the bulls, who shall be unprotected by their masters, the bona fide Vaishyas, the mercantile community. So he addresses this as one of the major problems in the modern days. People do not know the purpose of protecting the animals, specifically the cows and the bulls. When they are not protected, people engage in, people and the ruling class both engage in sharing great amount of sin. So that is one of the first symptoms that is being addressed. Then Prabhupada points out the second symptom, which he addresses in his purport. He says that the next symptom of the age of Kali is that the principles of religion, which are all spotlessly white like the white lotus flower, will be attacked by the uncultured Shudra population of the age. And he says, they will declare themselves as adherents of no religious principles, and many isms and cults will spring up in Kali Yuga only to kill the spotless bull of religion. The state will be declared to be secular or without any particular principle religion, and as a result, there will be total indifference to the principles of religion. So this is the second symptom. He says that people, first of all, they do not know what are the principles of religion, and as a result, the 4 pillars of religion are disrupted. There is we don't see truthfulness, we don't see mercy, we don't see compassion, then daya, then austerity, then Yeah, cleanliness also. These principles are gradually, it's being diminished in this age of Kali. And that is the result of more sinful activities that is being pointed out by Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada further points out, he points out that, he says that the irresponsible king or state executive jeopardizes his good name, duration of life, power and strength, and ultimately his progressive march towards a better life and salvation after death. Such foolish men do not believe in the existence of a next life. So then he says that because the leaders are not trained in the principles of religion, they don't value the importance of spiritual life. And then another important aspect is about they don't have faith in reincarnation. And so they are very much concerned, as it was discussed yesterday, they are very much concerned with prayers. There is no interest in the discussion of Shreyas. What is really what is the important thing that will really benefit people? What will on a longer run help the people to be happy? Not only after this life what will happen, in this very life, how the people can be happy. So that idea is also missing amongst the leaders, and as a result, so people are suffering. So this is another point Srila Prabhupada is pointing out. Yeah, and then Srila Prabhupada further he discusses that what are all the possible solutions for this, in this practically in this modern age, how we can work on the solution, how we can come out of these difficulties. Because in this purport there is another point Srila Prabhupada is referring to. He is explaining that if the Brahminical culture, if they are not protected, he says that there will be okay, I'll just read that. If the government becomes irresponsible and sinful, not caring for Brahminical culture, there will certainly be an incarnation of God like Parashurama to create a devastation by fire, famine, pestilence, or some other calamity. So that we are very much seeing now in the modern age, that there are so many problems. There is poverty, there is famine, there is wars. And many places we can see Srila Prabhupada is pointing out one of the main reasons for these wars and this fight among people. He says that because innocent animals are killed. Every day there are thousands and thousands of animals are being killed. And as a result, there is problem throughout the world. There is so many different kinds of difficulties people are facing. And although the government is trying to come up with some kind of a solution, but we don't see people being happy. Although the government, there may be some government who will be ruling for some time, and then they are trying in their own way to, in so-called trying to help the people, they squander the money and try to enjoy themselves. And then after this government, there is another government that comes, so they also try to squander people's wealth, and as a result, there is no peace amongst the people, because as Srila Prabhupada discusses, the root cause is that the sublime principles of religion are not inculcated in the people, so that the government, they themselves do not know what are those sublime principles. And as Prabhupada points out, that the animals, innocent animals, are being killed. So as a result, there will be great degradation. So Prabhupada further in that section, he points out in another purport what can be done, what could be a solution in this regard. So he points out that he says, gradually, as the basic principles of Brahminical culture, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, became curtailed by proportionate development of pride, attachment for women, and intoxication, the path of salvation or the path of transcendental bliss retreated far, far away from human society. With the progression of the age of Kali, people are becoming very, very proud, very much attached to women, and increasingly victimized by intoxication. By the influence of age of Kali, even a pauper is proud of his penny. The women are always dressed in an overly attractive fashion to victimize the minds of men, and men are addicted to drinking wine, smoking, drinking tea, chewing tobacco, etc. So further, Prabhupada, he continues. All these habits or so-called advancement of civilization are the root causes of irreligiosities, and therefore it is not possible to check corruption, bribery, and nepotism. You cannot check all these evils simply by statutory acts and proper vigilance. You have to cure the disease of the mind by the proper medicine, namely advocating the principles of Brahminical culture or the principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. The modern civilization, based on economic development, is creating a new situation of poverty and scarcity with the result of blackmailing the consumers' commodities. If the leaders and rich men of the society spend 50% of their accumulated wealth mercifully for the misled mass of people and educate them in God consciousness, the knowledge of the Bhagavatam, certainly the age of Kali, will be defeated in its attempt to entrap and victimize the conditioned souls. We must always remember that false pride or too high or estimation of one's own values of life, undue attachment to women or association with them, and intoxication of any kind will divert human civilization from the path of peace, however much the people clamor for peace in the world. So here, Srila Prabhupada very nicely points out, so what is the root cause and how a solution can be given to the people. So he says that the minds of the people are disturbed, so they have to be purified of their existence. And so for that, he says there should be a revival of the Brahminical culture. So there should be the propagation of the Srimad Bhagavatam. There should be the knowledge of the Srimad Bhagavatam should be propagated. And then we can see also Prabhupada how he had vision. We can see when he was here, he also wrote a letter to Indira Gandhi how he wanted he wanted the government to be structured. He wanted all the ministers to be Brahmanas, so they should have kirtanas twice a day, and they should be educated in the subject of Bhagavatam. So he wanted the slaughterhouses to be closed. If at all somebody wants to eat meat, so let them do it privately. And then he wanted that in the schools and colleges, this culture of Bhagavatam and the subject of Krishna consciousness should be given to the students. And right from young age, they should be cultivated in Krishna consciousness. So like that, Srila Prabhupada had a great vision. And we can see that's why Srila Prabhupada, by instituting the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, so he had created opportunity for people to come and then hear about this the great science of Krishna consciousness. So we have a great mission. So we distribute the books of Srila Prabhupada, which contains this transcendental knowledge. So we distribute Krishna Prasadam. We go out on the streets, engage in Harinam Sankirtana, where people get an opportunity to hear the holy name. And apart from that, we have various other preaching programs. We preach in the colleges, among the intellectual circles, among the scientists. We also have programs for the villages. We go out on Padayatra, or also we have so many village programs. And we also have revolutionary projects of principles of farm communities, wherein so many people can get an opportunity to be part of a simple village culture, and then they can live happily in cultivating the crops, and then simultaneously taking care of the cows, and then living a natural life, and then spending time for the real mission of life to develop our relationship with Krishna. So this is the life that is it's actually proposed by Krishna himself. This was Krishna's idea to lead a simple life so that we can have very clear thinking and revive our relationship. So the government should also should facilitate in this. So to start with, from being the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, we are trying our best in distributing this knowledge, in trying to educate people, also giving this knowledge among the intellectual class of people, thoughtful people, wherein when they get this knowledge, so there could be a revolution. So some leaders, so that's why we can see when Srila Prabhupada was also traveling, he was going and meeting several leaders, all kinds of people, he was having conversations. So if this idea of Krishna consciousness is inculcated in thoughtful people, and it makes a lot of sense, it can create real peace in the society. Really people could be happy. Unless the connection is established with the Supreme Lord, whatever one may try, one will, at the end of the day, you will be very disappointed. So as Srila Prabhupada points out that the Lord comes and then he he establishes the Dharma. So in the previous ages we see that the Lord does not tolerate. He immediately kills the demons or the miscreants. But specifically in this age, the Supreme Lord, He has descended as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, He has come with a very merciful incarnation. He has come with the medicine. He has come with the most powerful process. As Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur points out, He has come with the medicine of the holy name. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in one of the songs, he points out that Enechi Aushadhi. Aushadhi means medicine. So in Jeev Jago's song, he points out that he is helping all the conditioned souls who are sleeping on the lap of Maya by giving them Krishna consciousness. Specifically, he says that by giving them the Harinama Mahamantra Lavatumi Magi. So he is giving the holy name by making them chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is a very powerful process by chanting the holy names of Krishna. So by making people hear the holy name, definitely there will be a change in the consciousness of the people. So we can see we are all, because of our conditioning in so many lifetimes, we have everybody is engrossed in different gunas. We are all in the lower modes. We are conditioned. But the most powerful process, this Sankirtana Yajna, can create a revolution in the minds of the people. That's why when we see people, devotees going to various places, they're going in the middle of the, in the city, where there is, we remember when we were in London, we used to go for, I see devotees going for Harinam. There used to be some wine shops, there used to be people having so much fun in some, very highly materialistic place, but devotees go there and then they sing the holy name. And some people in a very funny way, they participate in the kirtan, or sometimes they make a mockery. But whatever, somehow or other, they chant the names of Krishna. So that already the seed is sown, and then they see the devotees, they smile at them, and then they come and join in the kirtan. And then also we see devotees on the side distributing the books. And many people, they become inquisitive. They try to know what is this Hare Krishna all about. And so like that, so people come, they inquire, and then they read, and then they gradually become devotees. So even then, even some of them, they may not become devotees. They become very favorable, and then they appreciate. And then gradually, this create a tendency for hearing about Krishna consciousness. So that's the most auspicious activity that we perform. So as we preach more, as many people hear about Krishna consciousness, so they will give up, as it is mentioned here in this verse, this Amangala Karini. So they become auspicious by engaging in the most auspicious activity. As one Vaishnava Acharya, he points out that there cannot be anything more auspicious in this world other than engaging in the Sankirtana Yajna. Maduram Madurebhyopi, Mangalabhyopi Mangalam. So there are auspicious activities. The most auspicious activity, there are sweet activities, you may say, but the most sweetest activity is to chant the names of Krishna. So that is this Krishna consciousness movement. We are very mercifully distributing. Srila Prabhupada has given such a powerful process. Very mercifully, he devised this whole plan by which the lives of the people could be saved. So, and then it's the most purifying process also. They don't have to do anything extravagant. They don't have to try any other process. Karma kanda, jnana kanda, performance of various other yajnas. The most powerful and purifying process. Pavanam pavane bhyopi. Very sorry. They cannot find a better process than this. The most powerful and purifying process of chanting the holy names of Krishna. We ourselves do not know what is the potency, how much power it has got. In fact, nobody could imagine 30 or 40 years before that the holy names of Krishna will be chanted in the West. We had no clue this is going to happen, but it happened. Of course, there is a prediction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but still nobody knew that this was going to happen. But Srila Prabhupada was the great personality who took up that mission and then he propagated. And similarly, we could see that Srila Prabhupada had great faith in the words of his guru and the previous acharyas. And remarkably, we could see also that when there was a discussion that Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, I think, he pointed out that how Srila Prabhupada could do it, how he could spread this Krishna consciousness movement in the West. And he specifically pointed out that he had so much faith on the holy name and on the words of his spiritual master. That was the great revolution. So similarly, we may also be wondering how there will be a big change, how the government, the many people, all the great leaders, how they will also put Vaishnava Tilak, how they will also become Krishna conscious, how there will be a domination of God conscious people in the society. It is possible, it will happen, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has descended, and it is said that it is a golden age, this period 10,000 years, and Srila Prabhupada has given this process. So if we take to this process, and then if we have faith, if we follow very vigorously, and then we also follow and take up this mission, and then we engage vigorously in preaching, and with faith we more and more preach and bring in more people and try to educate them in Krishna consciousness, then it will become very auspicious. Everything will become really, people will take up to this message, and we can see people will become very happy, and also we can see so many leaders will also change. That's what Srila Prabhupada envisioned, and it will happen. And we need to have faith, although it might, at this point of time, we may be wondering with so much of sinful activities going all around, but nevertheless, we need to stick to the process, and then continue practicing Krishna consciousness, and then follow the simple process as given by our acharyas, like distributing the books, having Harinam, conducting so many other programs, as the ideas given by Srila Prabhupada, college programs among the scientists. We have the Bhaktivedanta Institute, and various other programs like that. We just, different devotees with different capacities, as they venture into these projects with sincerity, definitely there will be a revolution. And we as the Hare Krishnas, we have the great opportunity to create revolution among people. We have the topmost philosophy. We have the best process. We have a very good alternative lifestyle wherein people can be happy, and our prasadam is really good, really very tasty, and it's very purifying. It's a mercy of the Lord. So we have a perfect process, and we just have to stick to it and go on with our Krishna consciousness. Then, as it is mentioned here by Srila Prabhupada, then the Brahminical culture will be revived, and the cows and the bulls and the women and the old people and the Brahmanas will be protected, and as a result, the society will flourish, and that is the hope. So, as we see here, so that is the mission of Lord Parashuram, to establish Dharma, and we see here that definitely for Kalki to come, it's going to be another 5,000 years to go, but sorry, it's more period. It's 4,27,000 years to go. But when Kalki comes, he's not going to preach. He's not going to speak anything. It's just going to be chopping. So if someone is a devotee, he will spare him. Otherwise, no Bhagavad Gita preaching, no holy, nothing. There will only be chopping business, as Parashuram was doing. But till the time, there is a lot of hope with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, this golden age period. And we have, as Srila Prabhupada said, that he has left the job with us. Srila Prabhupada has started the mission, and then he has given more responsibility lies with his followers to vigorously preach and revive this process of Krishna consciousness, which will bring happiness in the society. So that's what we see here. So in that way, so we will also be surprised to see, as the government, which is irresponsible, and because of inadequate guidance and taking to sinful proclivities, they are misguided and they are leading people in an improper way. But with the spreading of this Krishna consciousness movement more and more, so the government will become more responsible, the people will become more responsible, people will become free from the contamination, and the entire world will become auspicious. So we'll stop here. If you have any questions or comments or any realizations, we will take up, or any protests. Just wanted to add one point, since this point about the Samanta Panchaka is also mentioned. It's just a side point I just missed. I wanted to tell about that. Prabhupada mentions about it in another place. I just read a short note. It's the Samanta Panchaka is also, he is referring it to as Kurukshetra. He is mentioning in the Krishna book, it is mentioned Kurukshetra was formerly known as Brahmakshetra, Bhrugukshetra, Aryavarta, and Samanta Panchaka. It became known as Kurukshetra because of the work of the king Kuru. The Mahabharata tells of how King Kuru, a prominent ancestor of the Pandavas, made the land a great center of spiritual culture. King Kuru went there on a golden chariot and used the chariot's gold to make a plow. He then borrowed Lord Shiva's bull and Yamaraja's buffalo and started plowing. When Indra arrived and asked Kuru what he was doing, Kuru replied that he was preparing the land for growing the 8 religious virtues: truth, yoga, kindness, purity, charity, forgiveness, austerity, and celibacy. Indra asked the king to request a boon. Kuru asked that the land ever remain a holy place named after himself, and that anyone dying there go to heaven regardless of his sins or virtues. Indra laughed at the request. Undaunted, Kuru performed great penance and continued to plow. Gradually, Indra was won over, but other demigods expressed doubts. They said that death without sacrifice did not merit a place in heaven. Finally, Kuru and Indra arrived at a compromise. Indra would admit into heaven anyone who died there while fighting or performing penance. So Kurukshetra became both a battlefield and a land of piety. So this is one thing that is mentioned about the Samanta Panchaka. So you also see elsewhere, Srila Prabhupada is also mentioning that Parashuram did penance there, and then he, after offering all this blood which is accumulated in 5 lakes, the ancestors were pleased, and then they gave him benediction that yes, we are now pleased. So that is also mentioned in the scriptures. Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.